Hello, everybody. It's Shoe Detective here, and I don't really want to make my channel into I'm depressed type of a YouTube channel, but I'm kind of depressed, and a bit more than kind of depressed, so I'm just gonna do this video here about that topic that is talked about on YouTube so much that it's probably one of the most search terms after boobs or ass or yoga pants type of shit or high heels. It's probably the most searched for search term on YouTube, depression. And this video is probably too long for anybody not depressed, and a lot of people that are depressed don't have the attention span. It's one of the symptoms of depression that you kind of lose your focus, but it's not only about depression that you tend to lose that focus. Depression, it can have a scale of how bad it gets. And having a couple of self-destructive thoughts during the day, even hundreds of them, might not really mean that you're that depressed even. For some, it might be an alarm call. This is bad. I'm getting into the bad territory. But for some others, it would just be something to not worry too much about. So here we are being depressed, and should we seek help for this? Should we just wait it out? Is it because of the weather? Or is it because we have gotten old or sick or whatever? We shouldn't maybe even try to figure out why we're depressed. If we notice that, hey, if I go into this environment, I always get depressed, then maybe, plausibly, surely, you should quit going there. But if you find yourself in a new environment and you're kind of depressed here too, you go to Las Vegas and have the most awesome sex with the most awesome partners there. It's just beautiful and you're still depressed. Nothing affects your depression. Then you're dealing with something pretty bad that is not environmental or variable to the situation there, but for how many of us is it that way? Yeah. Many times when we are offered a deal in our life, just go for this, you would never kind of guess how much depression or downwards gloom you're going to have for that, especially if it's free. But paying for depression, that's just a whole new set of business opportunity there. We probably have been sold our depressions. It's also possible that we don't have just one anxiety or just one depression. We have many depressions. I mean that depression is not just this one this one clump of that depressed stuff. It's more like contained in these fucking units of depression. And sometimes some of those units of depression and hopeless despair that get transferred a little further away from you. Some of them get sent to India or some crap like this. And some stick closer by. It just, the life doesn't feel like worth the while. You're gonna go in your mind, even if I accomplish this, or even if I get this, or even if I do this, or even if I manage to pull that off, and even if they pay attention like this, and it just doesn't help this. What is wrong with me? Type of stuff. Well, first of all, diet is one of the biggest contributors to depression. Diet. And also your environment. And being very lonely can make depression worse, but then again, sometimes being very social can also make the depression worse. So if we're just looking at the depression there and think that we will do anything necessary to get rid of this depression, you might find yourself with a skeleton of a life. I mean, type of shit, get your buttocks removed to get rid of your depression. And maybe it's not very worthwhile to take that kind of stance in depression. There's just one problem we focus on. We have to get rid of this depression. And all of a sudden you no longer have any friends, or all of a sudden you no longer have any motivation or whatever. Where does that all come from? And also about that depression, did it come from somewhere? Maybe it came from the alarm clock. I don't know. I have 3 of these clocks and they beep, just beep, beep, beep every hour. It reminds me that time is passing. Like that. And sometimes it doesn't piss me off. And sometimes it can even remind me of what I was about to say. And here I was about to say that depression is kind of like a toothache. In a sense that it's very hard to enjoy life when you have one. Depression is kind of like having something in your eye. It's impossible to enjoy life with that. Depression is something added to you. Yeah. And they can make all kinds of arguments that depressed people get more addicted. They use more substances, abuse more substances, or are more addicted to internet shopping or whatever like this. It might be possible that you have behaviors that are driven by depression, but it's not like there's something and then it just flee away from it. It's more like there's something and then there's something, and those get kind of messed up together. So think about, for example, why are you on the computer? Like, what does it mask? Or are you learning something there? I realized during this winter time that I just unplugged the computer, and during the day I was just trying to read and just meditate and giving my brain a break. And there was a week I remember that I was feeling quite fine, quite fine. I didn't really change my diet much. The only changes I did was that I went out only during the night. So that's when the air is the most clean and I have no contact, or I don't hear car noise, for example. No contact with human beings for a week. I mean, absolutely, I didn't even see no human beings right there. Yeah, during the night times here, there's no fucking body. And I also was offline most of the time. Yeah. And my mood kind of started to get a bit better. Yeah. So maybe technology plays a part. Then again, if you just start to look your life like this, only the fact that my mood is good matters, and realize that you start to base your decisions on that. I also realized that depression only happens on one state of consciousness. It's a state of mind, but it's also a state of body. It is a state of body to be depressed. You can see depressed people, they are just slouched, and you can see in their energy that they cannot reach out anymore. It's kind of like being in a well. Yeah. We're not doing so well over here. Shit's the going. So it's impossible to enjoy life with it, with depression. It can also cause you to forget about stuff. I mean, have these problems with the thinking, just feeling like you're going crazy and that sort of stuff. Just today when I was out walking there, I saw this flash of light in the sky, this green flash of light. I wondered after that I saw it, was that a hallucination? I don't have too much problems like that, but of course I can be wrong. Maybe everything I see is just a hallucination, and now we go back to that state of consciousness. So depression only exists on one level of consciousness, and that's the waking consciousness. There is no depression in the dream state. In the dream state, you can't be depressed. Depression happens in the awakening consciousness. Yeah. Depressed people can have types of dreams. And some people call them nightmares too. But it's also possible that you might have your dreams very, very good during getting very depressed. This is weird. And sometimes when I just lay over there on the bed, I just wish I could just sleep so that I wouldn't have to wake up at all. I can't really reconcile my waking life to match how awesome my dream life sometimes becomes. I feel that my waking life is so fucking mundane compared to what I can achieve in their dreams. And I had a period when I had this knee injury and walking was very painful. So I took about, I think it was something like 7 months of recovery before I started getting out again. I did like a hardcore retreat of meditation and dreaming in this isolated black room, no light, and I was also fasting quite a lot during that time. And I got very depressed. But I had the sickest dreams, and I never was depressed during those dreams. But when I woke up from them, when I couldn't see that, that's where the depression is. Depression lacks vision. It's kind of a state of mind that doesn't work very well. It's a mind state that you can't get working, and it's very taxing. And I believe, in my own opinion and my own experience, that depression leads to physical pain too. When you endure it long enough, you sometimes just live the way that you're gonna experience a painful life. So it's not fun. And there's situations and life circumstances that can make that depression turn worse or have those symptoms get worse, probably, like being in a lot of debt can be pretty depressing. Well, money can probably cheer you up, kind of, but it's not impossible to be depressed even though you're rich. Yeah, we have probably seen that. And depression is different when you're not dependent on any drugs or alcohol, or when you're dependent on those stuff. Depression is kind of like just what I said, there's this and then there's this, and they kind of like mixed up. When you don't have those kind of addictions, depression is kind of different. It's not a rebound effect. And during those times of growing a bit older and thinking, is depression the same when I was 20 years old and now that I'm 30 years old? Is it the same? And I'm gonna say, no, it's not even the same depression. That's what I mean. There's more than one depression. There's a lot of depressions there. And it's not even that it's different what we're depressed about. It's not even like this. I don't know if depression will lead to lack of exploration, but at least for me it has somewhat done that. When I consider all of this, yeah, uh, I go a lot in my mind like, why the fuck am I here? And I should probably just listen to that voice in my mind that goes, why the fuck you here? Where should I be? Well, I feel that if you have something that somewhere else could be used much better, it would make so much more sense here than there. Then you not being able for some fucking reason to get there can be pretty depressing too. But depression can also be because you have habits that don't kind of create this forward motion. Your habits make you stagnate, but even good habits might not get you out of that depression. And it's not probably even about brain chemistry. It's probably all bullshittery that depression is about brain chemistry. Um, it's questionable, but I feel like this that we wouldn't be so depressed if our nature and if our surroundings were clean. And if we didn't live such a fucked up world, we probably wouldn't be so depressed. And the food and all that. If that was all just optimal, we would probably do a lot better. But it's not. So what can we do? I tried during the winter time to just hold up. Don't go out. And it helps for a while because you don't get exposed to a lot of stuff. And at least for me, because I'm not only depressed, I've been also kind of diagnosed with this, what is it called, neurodiverse, whatever type of developmental disorder. Not Asperger's, but something like that. And it makes me so that a lot of stuff that others people would just pass by stresses me out. And I go over it in my mind. And I get rejected a lot. So I kind of just shut down. Now, because I have been suffering from this teething pain, teeth pain, I've been, because of that, just trying to sleep through the whole day, and I've been trying to not eat. But, you get hungry when you don't eat. And of course, in these situations where our body starts in this type of way, it starts to fail or be used up or decay or whatever you call it. It's normal in many ways that we get old and we decay, but we have to suffer through that such a long time before we actually die. I believe that that's where a lot of people's, endings of their depression come from, is that they just are done with it. We shouldn't have this long of a suffering period before we die. I think it's pointless. I think we suffer for pointless reasons over here. Yeah, I think there's no glory in heaven for anybody that goes through this type of stuff. So, yeah. And this is also one of that characteristic of depression. You go in mind like we're not gonna be remembered either way, whatever I do. So what does it matter if I live the next 5 years or die today? Type of shit. But there's also the fun fact that a lot of people that have tried to end their days and then they didn't accomplish that are glad to be alive. But then there are those also that are not, at least for a time. Life has its seasons and there can be a few bad months over here. It's very hard to look at it and feel through it as a whole. But it's also, when you're depressed, it's also very hard to, from those times that are gone, feel any kind of joy left from them. So it's also it's a kind of an active state of mind too. Depression, it requires this constant maintenance, I believe, or have noticed that we have to maintain our depression, or otherwise it will just go away. We have to maintain that depression. I don't know. But this is what we're dealing with. A lot of people are dealing with it. There's probably a whole new ton of YouTube channels out there that are completely based around this I'm depressed idea. I remember this one American YouTube channel, some guy working some computer job, and it's just always just so depressed and so pessimistic about everything, and sitting in the car and talking about his failures of social interaction at the job, and I don't know. I can't remember the channel name, but he's probably still alive. I would feel like that. And most depressed people are not even in the danger of ending their days, probably. It will get better when the days get better. But if the days don't get better, then yeah. then again, when you think about happiness, actually, it can be bad for you too to be happy. When you're happy and you don't realize how shitty actually everything's going for you, is that good then? I don't know. Depression can make you conscious of how shitty it's going. But I would feel that for the depressed individual, the way is the dreams are the way, because it's really a state of consciousness that we're dealing with. Depressed state, it's a mind state, and we try to change that awakening state into a non-depressed state. But really, it's not so that depression and non-depression are two different things. It's more like there's non-depression and then there's depression, and they kind of exist at the same time. But when you're not depressed, it's kind of like there's only that, not depressed. But even that's not so great. I repeat, even not being depressed is not so great. Oh, that shouldn't be the only goal of mental health work, to get rid of that depression, because the non-depressed state is actually not so great. The dream state is much better than the non-depressed state. That's where we should go. People that are suffering on top of depression from some stuff, we're suffering over here for no reason, for no cause worthwhile. And that's depressing. But it's also might be that when I deem to know this, I deem that I know that we're suffering over here for no cause, that's depressing. But what I'm actually doing right there is kind of like sinning. That's sinning. When I say that I'm suffering for no cause, how the fuck do I know that? Honestly, I don't know if I'm suffering here for no cause. I have no clue. So, what you could do also, if you're very depressed, you could let go some of those ideas that you have that you're sure of. That must be this way. And kind of reach for that unknowing. I don't know if this has a reason. We shouldn't be so sure. Yeah. Then does depression alleviate if people talk about it in these depression therapy groups or to some therapist or to their friends or whatever on YouTube? Just make this type of video, just help. Yeah. What I noticed about the trap of mental health work is that we get surface a lot of negative energy. We don't get positive energy in the place of that non-depressant. We get in a negative energetic state. Negative energetic state without the depression instead of positive energetic state without the depression. That would even be pretty worthwhile. I mean, look at some YouTubers that are very positive and non-depressed. I mean, people flock to those people. Who would want to hang out with a depressed individual if they're not depressed themselves? Most none. And loneliness, it can be pretty depressing too. But as I said, socializing can be pretty depressing too. But maybe only if you socialize with depressed people, it is so. Maybe it's not actually so that depression in any way, if you meet a depressed individual, makes you depressed. Maybe it's not in any way so. We shouldn't be so sure. We shouldn't be so sure. We might be trying to protect ourselves from some threat, at least in the mind of ours, when we are so sure that this is just for nothing, no reason. But if you look at nature, I'll just repeat this point. I'm not sure if depression would even be there if we actually lived in a natural state. But then again, how is living in a natural state even possible? Well, some Aborigines tribes probably do it. They don't have so much depression. But at the same time, they have that group cohesion that we don't no longer need. In first world civilized countries, we're all kind of selfishly all alone, while at the same time trying to scratch each other's back, and becomes this power hungry fuckfest. And I don't like that, but depressed people, in my own opinion, shouldn't focus on expressing all the stuff they don't like. Because in the depressed state of mind, you go into a lot of dislike for a lot of stuff. It's hard to even like your favorite anime when you're depressed. You might not start to dislike it, but you lose that kind of feel for it. That's also one characteristic of depression. You have been so into stuff, then you're kind of, for some reason, the state of your body and your mind, you kind of lose that feel for it. Some people are able to keep going, even despite of that, but some people are not. And when you're depressed, you might look a lot of information out there that tells you how to get better in this or that or whatever, education, work. You might look at it, what's the word in that, because it won't have an effect in this. It's probably true that it won't affect your depression even if you get better at math, or even if you get better at your tennis racket or whatever. It doesn't improve your depression. What it can give you, if you get better in that, is a sense of self-worth. What I feel like is that if you have ever had a winning experience, any kind, where you kind of prove to yourself that I can be amazing at this, then it will carry you with you for years to come. I mean, maybe your whole life. You prove to yourself that, there's something in me that I became really good at that. I proved to myself that I have it in me to get good. That can carry through the years, but even during those times, you might have been depressed. Or even if not depressed, maybe in a negative energetic state without the depression. So, if we think about this, the alternative is that you're in a very negative energetic state compared to being depressed. I would say that you should be depressed, because in the negative energetic state you can hurt yourself a lot better, a lot worse than in the depressed state. I don't know if it is a common occurrence in therapy that people get into this type of, I'm no longer so depressed, but I just am becoming very negative and kind of irritated, angry type of shit. I don't know if it's common occurrence, but I would guess that it's pretty common. What's weird about the dreams is that in those, there might not be that negativity. There might be more truthful. It's kind of like lying to myself during the daytime. In this world and the next. So that's next what we should observe as depressed individuals. We should observe our own bullshit. I mean, observe how we think negative. But then again, dreams are kind of more open to time in the future and the past. It's kind of like a further reaching. In the waking state, it's harder to look at life in just this moment spectrum, the wideness of it. We become too focused on today. And because of that, it's very easy to get negative about today. dreams are kind of different. There's no today there. So I think that's it. That's all I can say about that depression. Depression is kind of like living with toothache. It's very hard to enjoy life when you have one.